I'm really impressed with the production quality that you guys are able to do. Because, like, look, the reality is most of these indie films, some have a little bit more money than others, but most of the time, there's not a ton of money. You know, this isn't the kind of thing where you have the access that a Hans Zimmer's going to have for, you know, as many days as you need with, you know, an 80-piece orchestra or whatever. You might not have any orchestra. You might not have, or you might just have to be strategic. But what is the production quality is superb is what I'm trying to say. And how is it that you guys are able to do that when you know, usually we're talking about a much smaller budget. You can't possibly be bringing, you know, all the string players in. So is this a lot of, like, you know, figuring out ways to assemble things in creative ways and mix them and all of that?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. I think that just like figuring out the ensemble and like how to achieve a big sound is important for us. When the project calls for that, of course.
Sure.
And luckily we have done a lot of things that are asking for big stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's been fun and like lucky for us that we're not doing, kind of like you were saying, we're not doing a lot of stuff that has like indie scope. Usually it's things that are trying to project a lot bigger.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and so that's been our kind of sweet spot. And what's cool is that now doing bigger budget stuff, like we still have that same mentality of like, of kind of all three stages are all really important. And we don't, the demo stage, like it could end up in the final cut, you know?
Yeah, and it usually does. I feel like our demos that we send out are at least like 99% there.
And we got to be ready for it to show up on the final cut, and maybe that stays. And so yeah, like, man, like really a lot of how we've been able to survive low budget world for a while there was like having great collaborators, having people that can come in like Paul Cartwright doing strings and just track like a little, I mean, like not even just a quartet, but he'll make something sound, you know, like to come in and just shred and just like totally change, you know, like the budget kind of like is it doesn't matter at that point, right? Because you've got people that are like so good.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the thing that comes to mind is a short we did with Disney a couple of years ago, where we had fleshed out the whole like an orchestral sound, kind of like a just a kind of a more generic, not generic, but a just like a cartoony animation sound. And we had a soloist, Paul Cartwright, come in and just totally shred on top. And all of a sudden it sounds like $1 million, like you wouldn't change a thing because you have this amazing live player on top.
Yeah, I guess like, do we try to focus on like some kind of virtuoso on like, you know, if there's a push and pull between budget and like what they want, maybe it's good to like think about how someone can step up and be kind of a virtuoso and then make you kind of forget about like a lack of brass section sometimes, you know.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So then I imagine in your final scores, you probably are using a lot just for kind of to give it, you know, the big kind of, you know, cinematic feel for all the baggage that comes with that. But I'm sure there's a lot of kind of like, you're using a lot of virtual instruments and samples and recordings to really flesh things out, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we're making them ourselves. Sometimes we're using stuff that we've bought. But
but for sure, we really embrace all that stuff. And like, you know, there's so much good technology out there that we can utilize. So yeah, I mean, even on big budget stuff now, it's just like we're still utilizing the in the box, you know, music, and we always, I mean, we end up in a hybrid situation so much, and at this point, we're pretty good at hybrid stuff where like we know when to do patches and when to do like a real string section or a real brass section or whatever it is. That's kind of our little world, you know, of like in between the laptop and the scoring stage.
Yeah, I mean, fact is, even if we have like a really good budget to work with, we don't want to have a director in and play him something that doesn't sound like something we could get behind for the final. You know? Right.
Plus, it puts you in a weird spot of, trust us, this will sound better. And then you immediately have someone that's kind of on their heels.
I'm amazed at when that, I guess more back in the day, when that did used to work, like you used to be able to demo stuff
Yeah.
out. You know, I was watching some stuff with like Alan Menken and Howard Ashman and some great old Disney stuff, and their demos, you know, and that documentary that's on Disney Plus, like their demos are there, and they're great. I mean, because the truth is the brilliance is there, but man, like we wouldn't feel good about sending those demos in at this point, at this day and age, because they'd be like, oh geez, like you're fired, like
Right.
you know. So it's amazing when the demos used to kind of work. Now, man, are there even really demos? I don't know if people can send in subpar stuff. I mean,
Right. Well, I mean, I think since we're competing, everybody else is sending in finished work, basically. So we have
Right.
to do the same.